This is Partanen, and you're listening to Talkin Schmit. We're gonna do this.
It's cool, like tonight is the night.
Here we go again.
Just give it the old college try, right?
Big dog's in.
Schmitty.
96 times, Schmitty.
Thanks, Schmitty.
We on? Schmitty?
Talkin Schmit.
That's called go to the hospital, bitch.
I'd be shitting my pants, man.
Your Rolodex is fucking deep.
It's about the one.
Who is this guy who thinks he's tough shit?
What's up? We're tastemakers.
Come on, Schmitty, what the fuck?
Let's hear it for Greg Smith. Yeah!
All right, hello everyone. Today we have a very wonderful and uplifting guest on the show. He was credited for being the first to complete the Norelco loop at the Tampa Pro Contest back in 2001. You may remember him from his Illenium days, but there's no denying his presence throughout the years as a solid veteran of the Creature Green. Please welcome my bro, Mr. Al Parton.
What an intro. Right on. Thanks, Schmitty. Thanks. Stoked to finally get to do one of these. Yeah. I know we've talked about it for a while, so
yeah.
Cheers. I'm lifting up my cup of coffee.
Yeah, I was wondering, are you a coffee or a latte guy? I feel like you'd have like some almond milk in there or something.
You know what? I actually have a little oat milk in there. That's a fresh pressed cold brew with a little bit of almond milk.
Nice.
I like the cold brew. It's less acidic on the belly, so I do enjoy my coffee. So I like to make the cold brew myself and not spend all that dough at the coffee shop.
For sure. Yeah, I'm addicted to coffee for sure. Like me and Alyssa talk about it. Like, what else do you go to bed dreaming of waking up to? Like, I can't wait for that first taste of coffee tomorrow.
Yes, it's it's something. It's something to look forward to.
Yeah, it's a good way to kickstart the positivity for me. Like,
Definitely.
If I don't have it, I kind of can easily simmer into this like, I don't know but if I have it, it's all like, no, today's going to rip, dude. We're going to fucking You're just like,
yes.
Fucking hype it up.
I love that. But you know what? Like, I do feel like, the crazy thing is like, I get up and then I'm like, okay, I'm chill. But like, if I wake up and I look at my phone or I see a notification or someone sends me a message about like, who knows, some kind of like injustice in the world, some political thing, I'm just like, it wakes me up and I'm like, oh God, and just kind of sets me on a weird spin.
Yeah. So
I actually like to get up, get a little rinsey, like start with some cold water and then I do like a little meditation, like a little gratitude meditation or just something simple, just to kind of like make sure I get the chill mode going and then I go for the coffee.
Yeah.
Because if I start the coffee before, like I literally like start my day going and going and going. And it's like, I don't have this like starting baseline, so it I love the coffee, but I like a little like a start.
And a little fucking outline. I'm a guy that works really well with lists. So I write shit down, even if it's the most basic shit. I'm like, today I'm going to like clean my car, like whatever it is. Dude. And then I have the structure, drink the coffee, and then those things just are getting checked off.
Oh, you're ripping through them. Yes, that's it. That's it. Exactly. I love that because that's the thing. Like after the meditation, I do my little list.
Okay.
And then like, even if it's just 3 major things for the day or just like some random stuff, it's like, and then I start the coffee and then it's just like you said, it's just boom, start ripping through it. And it's like, you got a little bit of a structure. It's nothing too crazy. You're not like, but it definitely helps.
Were you born Al?
I was born Alan Edward Partanen.
In what city?
Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
In Milwaukee proper?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then you grew up there, right? Like you were there through high school? Yeah,
pretty much through high school. Towards like the very end of high school, I went like my senior year, I got kicked out of the house and, blah, blah, blah. I was living with some of the older skaters from the skate park. And I made my way down to Dallas for a shut up and skate. And we crashed the car on the way down there. So I ended up just kind of living down there. Got dropped out of, I was going to adult high school at the time.
I have 2 8th grade diplomas.
Got dropped out of that because it took me about a month to get home from that trip. Hitchhiked back home with my buddy Donnie D from Dallas. So then I re-enrolled in school, finished the last semester. And then as soon as I finished it, I went back to Texas because I loved it. So
Dallas?
that's kind of like, yeah. So then I was down in Dallas right around there, 90, 91, around that era.
Sick.
Phillips was still there. So that was our park. I'd skate with Crum a bunch and
He's the best.
Dennis Martin. I mean, a lot of the guys that were down there at that time.
Okay. Well, rewind just a little bit. How did you get your first skateboard? What gravitated you towards like this?
First skateboard?
Yeah. Christmas present or a friend?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's actually pretty sick. Well, my dad, like I had my first board was my dad's board that him and my grandpa made, which was like pressed out of wood with clay wheels, that one, super sick. And then I remember finding it in the garage and being like, whoa. And I always loved tinkering with stuff. So it had like steel ball bearing wheels. So the bearings were out. And then like me and my dad had a little project where we put the bearings back in and got it cracking. So I rode that for a minute, but it was it was homemade. It was cool. But it was like, it didn't do much. And then I got like the GT Coyote, when I was like 4 or 5. And I had the yellow one with the pointy nose and I had the blue one that had kind of like the double square tail thing. Those were early days, those are early like 70s. But then I would say like 83, 84, I was in middle school. I seen this Hesh come flying out of school. And this is like my buddy. I would walk with him because I had a paper route after school. And I would walk with him to the paper shack and he would get the bus there to go back to rehab. He was like the power Hesh. Like he sold weed. You wore the jean jacket, tight jeans, long hair. Like he was Hesh Lord. He was probably like 3 years older than all the other kids too, because he had been held back so many times. But anyway, so like this was like, and he was one of the dudes, he was one of my guys.
Yeah.
He came flying out of school one day on a Ray Bones Rodriguez with sky hooks and jumped down the stairs in front of school. And I was like shitting bricks. I was like, oh my God, I need that. Cause I was like a BMX, karate, breakdance dude. So I was already into like a lot of the, physical movements, kind of like all this kind of stuff. So I was like, what is that? And I just got so hyped and I ran up to him. I'm like, can I try it? Can I try it? And he's like, nah, dude. And I was like, what? Come on. Like, you gotta let me get some. And yeah, he said no. And I just like, it lit a fire in me, like literally like was like, oh, I need that. And then like, I think because he said no, I wanted it even more. So I went on my paper route that day and there was this Hesh on my paper route named John Tezak who had a Boulder skateboard, also with sky hooks, indies, rat bones. So I was like, dude, I need it. I got to get it. And so I gave him a down payment. And then by the end of the week, I had it paid off. It was $70 for the complete. I think he gave me a set of cubics to switch out, like some softies to put on for other activities. But yeah, so by the end of the week, I had a board and I never stopped. I mean, that was, I want to say, I'm saying 84 to be on the safe side,
Okay.
But yeah, that was like
Middle school.
Yeah. Seven, not eighth.
So does that open up some avenues for maybe like some different type of friends that you start having that maybe you wouldn't have if you weren't like, I got a skater,
Yeah.
I'm gravitating to, like there's Sam Hitz, like, or what?
Yeah, I mean, it was like, so automatically I was like, okay. Cause I mean, I'd literally got it. And I was like, automatically, I knew, I'm like, I'm a skater. This is it. Like, this is my thing. I'm all in. And I've literally been skating every day since then. You know what I mean? And, never looked back. And like, I knew like instantly that was my thing. But so I had like some dudes, local dudes, because I actually lived in West Dallas at the time, which is a suburb of Milwaukee. It's just a couple blocks across the border. It's West Dallas proper. It's pretty Hesh zone, but
that's sick. You went from West Dallas to Dallas.
Yeah, West Dallas to Dallas. But yeah, I knew some dudes in Dallas that there was a skate shop there called Board Stiff. So I kind of went there and loped out and would buy my stickers and, you know, put my boards on layaway off my paper route money and, you know, that kind of stuff. But those guys they were into it, but they weren't like all in like I was. I don't know. I was just like, I just wanted more. I was like, really like, I knew there was more out there and I was like, I need to like experience more of this. So
yeah.
So I started, you know, traveling on the bus and even skating, like saving my bus money. I would skate along the bus routes. And if I got closer to the spots before the bus came, I would just skate. But if I would get it at the beginning, I would get on the bus and, you know, save my money for candy or soda or whatever it was. But I started going over to the south side and meeting up with Rob and Jay. And I know, you know Rob Owen, right? You know,
yeah.
Rabbi.
Yeah.
So I started meeting up with those guys and Jay and my buddy Dave Steinley, Charlie Brown, dudes that skated more badass, more hardcore, like than the guys in my neighborhood, you know? So like my group of friends expanded from there and, you know, the skateboard was my magic carpet. It kind of just took me all around. So sick. That was kind of like that was the early days. And then I met a bunch of other dudes. There was some skate jams in Milwaukee, the All City Skate Jam, where I met like a lot of the other guys. Like this is pre-turf, you know?
Okay.
So kind of like that crew just expanded out and like just other skaters and then the turf opened. So that was like huge, you know what I mean? So that was like, boom. Because back then, you know, turf was like the Mecca.
Right.
Like you were a skater at that time. So this is like 88, 89. Like if you were a skater at that time, you had to make a pilgrimage to the turf. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where, and we didn't know. We were just like, oh, this is our local, you know? But it was such a spot that like everybody from skateboarding would come there. So I met, you know, a lot of the dudes that I'm still friends with today, I met at the turf. Fuck. You know what I mean? I was there like right away, you know, my ID number was 136. So I was the 136th person to get an ID when the turf reopened. Nice. And, you know, at the end, there was like over 70,000, you know what I mean? So like I was in the very beginning. I just don't remember what year it was.
So it opened and then for some reason it closed down for like a couple years or more than a couple years.
Well, so it was open the first time, you know, from the 70s, and then it closed down kind of when skateboarding took a dive.
And they just put shit over it, but didn't.
Yeah, they parked like the dude had his boat parked down in the triple pool. They had cars and other things parked around. So they didn't fill the bowls. They just used the warehouse as kind of like a storage.
Storage, right.
And then there was a strip club. The pro shop and everything was a strip club. It was called Belly Buttons.
Dude, how do you can't even write this shit.
I know, it's insane, right? So then Belly Buttons, I guess, was cracking for a while, but then when skateboarding kind of, I know, right?
That's the best. God damn it.
But yeah, so then Belly Buttons was cracking, and then, you know, skateboarding kind of got its momentum again.
Are some of the guys you're hanging out with, or maybe some of the older guys, are they like in my mind, you're like, we have this fucking thing that's like gold and it's still there. How are we going to bring it back? Like, do people have that mentality, or is it just like, no, it's over. It'll never come back?
Well, I mean, you know, when
Like, if we had a pool in our city that just had a piece of wood over it, we'd be like,
Yes, of course. Well, so that was like, I guess no one was really thinking about it because it was from a past generation, so
they didn't know the epicness really.
No. And then, like the guys that owned it, I believe they even ran belly buttons, so they was still their property, is still their business.
Okay.
So then when they brought it back, it was because it was like an opportune time for them to, make some dough. When it got filled for us, it literally got filled. Like they smashed the coping out. They broke down the extensions on the capsule and they literally filled it. They filled it with gravel and then put concrete over it. And at the very end of the turf, it actually was a street park. Like it was unbelievable. Like for like a small, 6-month window at the end, they actually filled it up and put these like cardboard plywood ramps over the silhouettes of the bowls. It was
when street skating got popular.
Yeah, it was like, obviously, it was like more of a street skate thing, so, and we skated it still, but it was heartbreaking. I mean, it was like unbelievable. And then it just kind of fizzled out. And it was kind of like, it was pretty bad timing because if they held on for a little while longer, it would have got resurrected because like transition skating and like things started to come back around. Hindsight's 2020, but like I feel like if they would have held on for a little bit, we would still have it today,
Fuck. But
no, it didn't happen.
I never got to go there, but I'm assuming that there was different bowls in there and whatnot. Did you have like if you could only bring back one part, is there a favorite spot that you had? Like, the sea bowl was it or whatever?
Yeah. I mean, they were all cool. They all kind of worked together, but obviously everyone's favorite was the triple, the clover. But now looking at it, I think it would, it would be fun. It seems like it would be small. I was smaller then, so it seems like it would be pretty small. Oh. The keyhole was amazing. The capsule was like all time. If I guess if you could just bring one back, I think maybe the capsule, just because it was so unique. And obviously, you want them all. It's hard to choose. Even like the footy bowl, the Coke spoon, all of them, they were all sick in their own right.
Right.
Everyone would say the triple, but
the triple, huh?
Yeah.
Were you there for any of those sessions that were like documented in the Santa Cruz videos?
Yes.
Like Salva and Grosso, I think, are there, and there's that fence on the thing, and I think he does like maybe a tail tap foot plant off there or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I was actually there. That was pretty cool. I was actually out at a party on the east side with my buddy Dave Steinley, and I don't know. I don't think we had pagers, or maybe I had a pager. I'm not sure. It's possible. I possibly got a page from someone at the park, and they were like, "Yo, call them back. Hit the payphone. What up? Yeah, there's a session at the turf, after hours session. You should roll." And I'm like, "Cool. Is it cool if I roll with Steinley?" Yeah. Let's go. So I went up there, and it was literally that session for Salva's 30th. In the Santa Cruz video where they smashed the cake on them. And
yeah.
Like I think Keenan bought a keg.
Oh shit.
It was a monumental session, and then I showed up on that sesh, kind of late, half buzzed, I was like, I was probably like 16, and I was probably like 17 at the time. I think I had a couple beers in me. All the boys were skating. Jason Jesse taught me rock and roll board slides that night.
No way.
Yes, absolutely. I was like, and I was so stoked, like I think I've mentioned it to him before, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I remember that." Yeah. Like,
sick.
Yeah, I remember being really stoked on that. But yeah, all that stuff. Grosso skating the capsule. I'm not sure if it was the exact same time, but there was another time when Grosso and those guys came with Keenan, with Keith Meek, with Mike Prosenko. Grosso like knocked himself out. He did like a rock and roll board slide, classic Grosso, off the hip and went like all the way around the bowl, and I think just came in and maybe clipped on the way in and hit his head, and he like got knocked out. Like it was gnarly, you know.
Damn.
So that was that was a different time. That wasn't the Salva time. That was a different time. And I remember there was like this turf house right kind of in the parking lot of the turf, and he was at a party there and he was holding court. It was like literally like the Grosso show. It was like amazing. Like we were all sitting around on the floor and he's just like telling all these stories, and we're all just like sitting there like, what? No way. This is amazing. Like he might've been a little loopy because he got knocked pretty good on that one. But that night he was telling the greatest stories. He was telling like stories of this drink that they had made with, grape juice and it was like you take like a concentration of grape juice and then put it in with vodka. It was called this Purple Jesus.
Oh shit.
So he told us those stories, and we were always inspired. Like me and my buddy Rabbi, we were like trying to have some Purple Jesus after that. We're like, well, we got to try this Purple Jesus.
Right.
It was sick, man. It was cool. It was just like, you know, just to be there. And I was just a kid, and I was just kind of like in the sidelines, like watching and just like in awe of this whole happening, you know?
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was cool. And that was like actually the first time I got to go to that turf house, because that was reserved for like the older dudes, you know, like the older locals, and some of the guys, they lived there and they would party there. And I never even got invited. So that was my first time going.
Oh man.
The Grosso show. It was epic.
And was it mandatory copers?
It was, yeah.
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 That was so you didn't fuck up the coping or what was the reasoning behind it?
Yeah, as this, I guess, to preserve the coping or just to be lame. But we had our own techniques. You could put your copers on to where you'd roll them back, or we could get the ugly stick copers, and you could grind through them, and then so your axle would be, you know, or your truck would be exposed, but it would look like from the back like you had copers on. So that was one. There's another technique where you just kind of roll your copers back so they would pop off on the first grind, and then you would take your run and be like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, it just fell off. But it was kind of like intentional, so you'd have to go grab your coper after.
That's
and
amazing.
Then the third way around it was Growin made these composite trucks after a while, Mach 4s or something they were called, and you could grind through those and then you'd be on axle. So that was almost similar to the real thing, you know. So
right.
there was little you know, hacks that we would do as locals to like still get our grind on.
Good stuff.
But yeah, it was a weird thing, you know, I guess preserve the coping.
And at that time, as a young kid that's kind of getting his taste of all these different things, having the park with all these rippers, who are the dudes you're gravitating towards the most? Like who's going to be on your wall in that era? Like, this is Hasoi or fucking who?
Yeah, I mean, I got to see Phillips there. Obviously, love Phillips. I got to see Reese Simpson was my ultimate favorite, but
sick.
I got to see Chris Miller
at the turf.
At the turf, yeah, man, unbelievable, so cool. And actually, funny thing, I got to see his first run, and he did the classic. So in the triple, you would roll in. And if you didn't hit the hip and carve it right away, the other wall came up quick. So Chris Miller, you know, one of the greatest ever, but he did the classic, like hit the waterfall and smashed into the face wall.
Oh,
and I was like, his first run. Yeah, I mean, that happened to everybody. It even happened to Chris Miller, which was pretty amazing. But I mean, after that, he absolutely destroyed it. You know, Reese was one of my favorites. Alan Losey.
What a time.
Ben Schroeder was like probably one of the one of the toughest. Like he came through and spent some time, and he like, you know, the whole turf is concrete and steel. It was a cement skate park with like steel fences and stuff. But when Ben skated, like the whole earth rumbled. Like you literally felt the
You
earth.
do not want to collide into Ben.
No, it was gnarly, dude. Like his copers would just fly off first run anyways.
Oh man.
And he's just like, and he was just like trucking through everything and just like literally like the ground would shake, you know? It was epic. He was another one of my absolute favorites. But yeah, so many people, man. I mean, that's like I said, that's where I met like a lot of the people I know today. And, you know, and we had locals that were also like, if they had posters, they would have been on my wall. So like dudes like Gomer,
Shout out.
Brian Hispanic, he was one of my mentors. You know, I skated with this guy, Stevie Bodwin.
Shout out.
Who also, he's part of the Bodwin family. Stevie, R.I.P., Zilly, R.I.P. They're some of the original locals. And then their other brother, Marty. But those guys were like, they were already legends. But Stevie was the youngest, and he kind of looked out for me when I was a kid and let me live with him when I had troubles at home. And those guys, my buddy Pete D,
shout out,
Rost, like these guys who kind of like took me on some of my first road trips and looked out for me. My buddy Zor,
shout out,
another one, R.I.P. He was like,
fuck.
You know, like a lot of these guys, man, they were just like epic humans, you know, mentors to all of us,
right.
You know, to me and to Sam and
yeah,
the other guys that grew up skating the turf.
When did you meet Sam? Did you meet him at the turf?
I know I met him before the turf, actually. I met him through a mutual friend, our buddy Joey.
Shout out.
And that was at there's a skate jam right by Sam's mom's house on the south side. And I went down to that skate jam, and, you know, I'm a few years older than Sam. So I got there, and he was like this little dude, like ripping launch ramp wall rides and, you know, like doing all this rad shit. And I'm like, damn, who's this little homie? Like, this dude's sick. Like, so that's when I met Sam. And then I got to skate with him a bit, because I would actually, on my bus routes, I would take the bus down. There was a skate shop down in Sam's neighborhood on the south side called Mr. Wilson's. And that's where we would get our creepers and our Doc Martens and dope skate shop. The guys that ran it were awesome. And so I would see Sam down there, and we had these curbs down there that we would skate. And, you know, this is all pre-turf stuff. You know, this is just mobbing around the streets of Milwaukee as a young skateboard rat, you know, like this wasn't like, we didn't have a skate park scene. We didn't have a ramp scene. We were just rats, you know, like we just hit what we could.
Sure. Does the turf opening and you skating there a lot, is that super instrumental in you getting like excelling and getting better and then getting sponsored and that stuff?
I guess so. I mean, yeah.
Like, skating?
Yeah, because we had a place to do it. We had so. I mean, the localism was heavy, you know. Like once we had the turf, then we also had we had this warehouse that we skated too. We had two incarnations of that. The first one was this guy Mike Froh put up the ramps in there, and like that was kind of going simultaneously with the turf. So it was like we had a vert ramp in one room, a mini ramp in another room, and the turf going. So that was like, it was like the 1-2 combo. So that was pretty sick. Afterwards, me and my buddies, Rob and Jay, resurrected the warehouse. So then in that carnation, it was called the Hesh House. And that's where we jumped off the Hesh crew. So we would skate there like 4 sessions a day.
So that's the origin of the Hesh crew right there?
Yes, absolutely.
Sick.
Yeah, that was it.
Okay.
But that was kind of like also happening simultaneously and towards the very end of the turf. Like even when the turf closed, we still had the warehouse for a little while after. Okay.
And what's the first thing you get for free? Like somebody's like, hey, I want to hook you up.
First thing, Steve Keenan put me on speed wheels. Yeah, that was my first. And then Randy Jansen put me on going. So board wise, like I had, a couple little here and there's. Ricky Barnes came through and he gave me a couple of Lucero limited boards. That's when Lucero was through NHS. I even got a couple Circle A boards, kind of like Bodwins were kind of like hooking me up with some of their boys out there.
Was that Schmeltzer's deal?
Yeah, but I think I was like, I didn't know Schmeltzer, but it was kind of like Andy Alvera, Chris Alvera, and I think even like the Mosers may have had some hand in that. Like I got a couple boxes from Circle A, and then
Ricky Windsor, right?
Yep, Ricky.
Shout out.
And then Reese came, and Reese was like one of my favorites, and I just really clicked with him. So this was when Reese was still amateur for Schmit sticks. So Reese would actually box up and send me all of his old boards. That was kind of like my first legit sponsor, was Reese sending me his old boards. And it was epic because like they were the boards he was riding in Thrasher, in Power Edge,
right.
All the
same sticker job. You're like
same board, same chips, same rip clip, like same one rail. Reese was the guy, he always ran one rail or no rails, which was early like one rail, no rail Steve, which was fucking cool, man. So I would have those boards, and I never thought to keep them. Like they were literally the ones in the magazines. I was like, oh, I'm riding this now. And so that was really cool. And then at the tail end of that, like when Reese went pro for Schmit, I got a few boxes from Schmit Sticks. And then like very soon after he went to BBC, so he put me in contact with Mouse and got me on BBC proper. So that was like slow start evolution of my like board sponsorship, I guess you would say,
Okay. And
but it was all thanks to Reese. It wouldn't have happened without him. Like he was the one that like kind of believed in me, and
that's amazing. And he's your guy. Like when you get your guy to be stoked on you, you're like I've always told everyone, do you care about what they say? Nah, I care what my peers say. Like, you know what I mean? Like if I'm making a part with Al, I want Al to like it. I don't care what the kid, like having your peers be stoked on what you're doing is a big part of what everyone's doing, right? It's Absolutely. Like your influences influence you to do this. So if they're stoked, you've come full circle with the student to the teacher kind of thing.
Yes, sir.
Getting deep.
Well, I mean, I feel like that, like Reese was like, he's lineage, right? So he was like the baby Losi in a sense, like, obviously Losi's Losi.
Yeah.
One of the best ever, but I mean, he was like, Reese was like under Losi's tutelage. Right. And then I got to be under Reese. So that's like, that's a pure bloodline of Stoke right there. So it's,
So in that period where things really start revving, are you still in Milwaukee or are you in Dallas?
I'm still in Mill.
Oh, okay.
When I finally got to Dallas, I was riding for BBC at that time though.
You said you were homeless for a little bit. How did that all evolve? You were just kind of scrambling and.
Yeah. I mean, there's like, I went pro in 92 for Greg Witt's company, the Good Times.
Do you still have your first board?
I don't. I wish I did. It was a picture of me hitting a double stage bong with a weed leaf behind my head. So, this is part of the story that's kind of crazy. So I went pro for Good Times. I kind of went on the first trip with them. 92, supposed to go to Europe afterwards and after our US trip. And on the US trip, we were like, this is Greg's first trip too. So everything was new. And so we were like literally like eating bread and water, sleeping at roadsides, sleeping in the van. It was like he didn't have he had a credit card, but it wasn't working. All this stuff, we was just like a crew of dudes just trying to make it happen. And then like I got the opportunity. I was down at SD and some dude was like, yo, send this box of weed and I'll give you $200. You can keep whatever the difference is. So, this is part of the story I don't normally tell, but so anyways, I did that. And I was too nervous to send it while I was in SD. So I put it in the top of the van in the Thule, and we drove through the night because we had to do a demo the next day in in Tucson.
Ooh.
So we drove through the night, woke up in the morning, and we're about to go to the demo. And I'm like, hey, wait, we got to go to the UPS. I have to drop this package off. They're like, what? What are you talking about? Like, just trust me. I got to do this. I'm like nervous as hell. I never did anything like this. I'm a skate rat, like I'm like kind of tripping.
Yeah.
So anyways, we go to the UPS station. I take the box out of the Thule. I start writing the address that the guy gave me on it. And I'm like really nervous. And so this dude that's on our trip, this guy, Tim Tino, he's like, what? Is that weed? Is that weed, man? And I was like, shh, shut up, man. Shut up. He starts yelling, right? Like, he's like, oh, this guy's got Budweiser. And I'm like, dude, stop. And he's like totally messing with me, right? Well, it turns out I didn't realize we're in Tucson. We're like super close to the border. They have like drug enforcement agencies there. This agency called Mantis, which was a special forces like drug agency.
Yeah,
two of their agents happened to be walking through the parking lot at that time. Called it in on a suspicion. So I sent the box, called it in on a suspicion. We leave. Next thing I know, we're getting followed by cops in the van on our way to the demo, right? Dudes are like, hey man, there's cops following us. What was in the box? And I'm like, fuck. Okay. So anyways, they pull us over, they take me out, and they're like, you're going down. And, I had my buddy actually went in with me who was underage. I was like 18. My buddy was like 17 or something. And, they're like, you're going down for contributing to a minor.
Is that real?
This is real shit. Like, I don't even tell this story that much, but it's like, so anyways, I'm like, and I'm just sticking to my story. I'm like, I don't know. It's videotapes and t-shirts from our tour. I'm just sending them off to a person,
right?
Because they don't really know nothing, but they're kind of pretending they do. They're like, oh, we followed you from where you got the stuff. We know, now you admit it. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, So anyways, then they go and they pull my buddy out of the van. And he's underage. And they're like, now you're going down. You're going down for a long time, contributing to the delinquency of a minor. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me right now? So I'm like, okay, whatever. Just leave the kid out of this, I go, maybe it's weed. I don't know. And then boom, they just throw me on the ground, shackle me up, take me to jail. Like, I don't see the light of day for weeks, and that was it. So anyways, yeah.
Fuck.
So I don't ride for Good Times anymore. I'm in jail. So, no contact with anybody. I end up getting a public defender who was like this epic dude who had like people. He had like judges, uncles that were judges and dads and all this stuff. So he was just doing his time as a public defender, but he's actually a great lawyer and a great guy. So he basically like negotiated my case for me, and I got what was called a Class 6 open-end felony. And I know, crazy, right? So yeah. I can't believe I'm telling this story, but basically I go back to Milltown on probation, and this Class 6 open end, it means that like if you go on probation and you don't mess up over the next 2-3 years, it's wiped. I got that wiped off my record. I did the probation, but in the meantime, I'm like, fuck, man, what do I do? So I skated for Beer City for a while while I was on probation. That kind of fizzled out, and I had a crib with my buddies, but then that kind of fizzled out. So then I was like, ended up being homeless. And this is coming up on like 95, I'm just kind of like surfing around Milltown, doing odd jobs for my uncle and my grandma. And that's the time when Darren had already moved to California. Sam had just moved. And we were just like, we had kind of like passed the reins over from the Russ Pope creature to the new creature.
Uh-huh.
So I went and ended up riding for Creature.
Okay.
So starting in 95, I started riding. So I went from being a pro to being am for Creature for like a more of a legit brand or whatever. Yeah, so that happened, and the homies moved to California and started getting it going out in California. And I was just like in Milltown, and I was like homeless, and I was like, I mean, this fuck crazy story, dude. I can't
Yeah, you have an epiphany, right?
Yeah. So like my uncle, I'm like I said, I was doing odd jobs for my uncle and stuff. And my uncle says to me one day, he's like, Alan, what are you going to do with your life? Like, he's like, just think about it, man. I'll support you. And I was like, what? No one ever said that to me, like not only asked me the question, but then followed it up with, I'll support you. So I don't know what happened. I guess it got something turning in my brain. And that night I was sleeping on the floor at a friend's house by the window, just like on the hardwood floor. And I like woke up, I had this epiphany, and it was, I guess, from my uncle asking me that question, but then also saying, I'll support you. I had this idea, and I was like, what the hell is this? Like, I had a notebook in my backpack. That's all I had was a backpack. And I just started filling the notebook and writing. And I wrote for like a week straight, hardly any sleep. If I was out on the street and I didn't have my notebook with me, I'd tear like flyers off the light poles and write on those and throw them in my book. But anyways, after a week, I looked back and I read the book, and it was like a full manifesto of like how to change my life, so it kind of like, it was just this crazy thing, right? Because like I never wrote before that. And then from my uncle asking me that question, it kind of just brought something out of me. And then like towards the end of that week, I called some meetings with some of my good homies, people that didn't think I was losing my mind. I just started talking about it, and I'm like, I got to give this a name, because I think this can not only change my life, but I think it could help the world, So it was a big idea.
Right.
Riding back, I was going to stay with my buddy that night, and we were riding back on his scooter, and I was about to get on the scooter, and I just was like, Pupil, people uplifting people in life. And then he looks back and he like nods his head, and he's like, yeah. And then we got on the scooter and we left. But so that was kind of like when I gave a name to this vision or this idea that I had written out in the notebook. So I called my uncle back. This is now only a couple of days after 5 days after asking the question. And I go, I know what I want to do. And he's like, really? Okay. Yeah. So, I want to go to school for marketing communications. I have this beautiful idea that I think can not only change my life, it can change the community here in Milwaukee, and eventually could help change the world, So it was like this idea. And he's like, well, that's beautiful. Cool. So he got me an apartment, paid my first month's rent, got me enrolled in the community college in the marketing communications program, and just kind of got my start, And then so from there on, it was on. It was kind of like when I found skateboarding, like my life changed and I never looked back. Like literally, like I was kind of in this like no man's land leading up to that point, you know what I mean? And like after this Pupil idea, it gave my life like a structure and a vision and a purpose. So like I went on from there. I went to school for 4 years, and then during those 4 years, I ran Pupil. We did shows, art shows, skate jams, a newsletter, like all kinds of stuff promoting the positive aspects of what was happening in our community.
Rad.
It was like it was like a movement,
Uh-huh.
And that was like my whole gig, and it kind of like changed my life, and it was like my direction. But then after school, 4 years of school and doing Pupil, I got a little worn out. I got hit by a car on my way home from school during exams and hyperextended my knee. So like I needed knee surgery.
Fuck.
And so I didn't even get hurt skating.
That's the worst.
Yeah, it sucked. Totally sucked. But anyways, so I was like, I told all my friends, I said, hey, you know, like, I'm getting done with school. Sam and Darren are already out there. They got some things going on. Like, I'm not abandoning Pupil or Milwaukee. I just have to go and pursue this skateboard thing. Otherwise I'll never, you know, I won't be able to live with myself. So, so there we go. You know, so I had this whole like thing, kind of rebuilt my person,
Right.
With a structure and more of an idea. So then I packed up my Civic, you know, and went to California, and I landed at the Hesh camp. So that was, and that was epic, you know. I mean, that was like
then the story begins.
That was the stronghold. So, you know, and that was Darren, Sam, Pete, Eddie, you know, like all the boys were there, and that was it, you know. So I landed in the right spot, the sweet spot, right at the right time.
Oh man!
So that was like towards the end of '98. You know, that was after.
And you already knew Darren.
Oh yeah, we'd been friends since kids. You know,
he grew up in Minnesota, right?
Minnesota, but
did you meet him at the Turf?
I actually met him at like the Piss warehouse. Piss is a public indoor skate spot. And then it became Twin Cities Skate Oasis, and, you know, just like other vert ramps and stuff like that, and skate structures up in the Minnesota that we would road trip up there to go skate with those guys. So we had like, and they would come down to the Turf as well. So it was kind of like a Midwest fam, kind of extended family.
So by the time you get to San Diego, you guys already had a tight knit.
Oh, well, I already rode for Creacher. They were like, I was writing letters back and forth to Sam, like telling him, I'm going to be there. He'd be like, Parts, get out here. What are you doing? Like, we got it cracking. You need to be here, you know? And I was like, I'm on my way. And he's like, well, what are you doing back there? What are you doing? And, you know, and I'm going to school for marketing communications, not only to learn how to do Pupil, but also to kind of like
structure your life and shit.
Well, I mean, just like, you know, because skateboarding is a dance. So it's like this. I was like, he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm trying to figure out how I can make sure our crew lives forever. You know what I mean? So it was kind of like learning some other little tricks of the trade as to how we could like become a thing. Because like, you know, as one person, it's hard. But like when you band together, when we formed the Hesh crew, and then when the Hesh crew kind of made it to the West Coast and we were centralized in SD, we became a unit, you know what I mean? Which is obviously, that's how it happened, you know what I mean? So we were like, we kind of created a bit of a movement with that whole idea, you know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah.
So it was like that part of that weird schooling part. And, you know, that was also part of like helping to understand the Hesh crew and how that we were going to make that a thing as well, you know? And it wasn't like a total conscious effort. It wasn't like, here's the plan, but it was like, it helped, you know what I mean? It helped having some of that like marketing background, some of that ideas. Like, so how do you make this a thing, right? So you have to like, you have to give it a name, you have to give it a vision, you have to give it an idea. And like, that's kind of, I feel like, you know, what we helped contribute to skateboarding as the Hesh crew, you know, which is like helping to revitalize some classic elements and also bring some new things to the table, you know?
Right. Do you think before the, let's just call it the epiphany stage, before that, do you consider yourself a positive, uplifting person, or do you change a lot at that moment and see like, I need to strive for more, like pushing away the negativity and keeping it positive? Or have you always been like that your whole life? Or?
I think I've always been like that. I think that's always kind of been an underlying thing for me. It's something that I've always felt, and it's made me feel like an outsider. It's made me feel different because I have felt like that. And I'm like, you know, even when I was a kid, I'd be like, huh, people are weird, you know, like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? So it was something that I felt, but I think you know, and it happens in life. You get away from your center, you know what I mean? So like, you know, maybe I got away from it and then I had to be brought back, so
Right. Okay.
when I was brought back with the epiphany or whatever, I feel like it really solidified it. It really like it made it known, that this is the thing, this is the direction, or this is the inspiration in my life. So
Okay.
so but I mean, I always felt like, I was wild. I was obviously a wild kid. I had a crazy upbringing, so I was angry and I did crazy shit as a kid, as we all do. But I think after that, I always felt something, but that kind of like helped me, brought me more to my center. It gave me more of a definition of who I was and whatnot,
Right. I'm sure there's a gazillion, but what's one like epic memory you have of the Hesh house, living with Pete and Navs and Hewitt and all them? Like, is Cranny there too? Is he crashing?
Oh, Cranny, of course, dude. Cranny came in later. I think, did Cranny come in after Sam left? I think when Sam and Alyssa moved out, I think Cranny came in, or maybe Cranny was there. Anyways, Cranny was definitely there.
Okay.
Yes. Epic. I loved it. I mean, everyone, Tim Tice, Zach, like, there was like Armando, Eddie.
That's in Claremont?
That was in Claremont. Yeah.
Claremont.
And then not only that, we had just so many people coming through, like just on the couches there and stuff,
Right.
like, constantly. Falk and Shorty stayed for a while in the early days. Like, there was just, dude, it was sick. It was super sick. But there was like a party or something, and a party broke out, and like everyone's fighting. It was like kung fu fighting in the streets, people all in the streets and all this stuff. And like, I remember Armando, one of our roommates, like took a table. He took like a actual like end table and like chucked it like a frisbee, and like it fucking boom, knocked this dude out, and everyone's in the streets and people are going wild. And like, I mean, there was a lot of times, I mean, there's just so many. Some of my favorite parts is we had this big, huge kitchen table, and we had a nice kitchen, and we were all super poor. So we would scrape our cash together, and everyone would, I mean, it literally would be change, like coins. And we would get $3.78 together. And I had this crazy like backpack, and then I would go to Food for Less and get whatever I could to like create a meal for the crew, right? So, and it would literally like every time, and it wouldn't be like, you wouldn't add it up, but you go around the store and go, oh, here's some pasta sauce, here's some pasta. And then we had these things, we call them Chantilly biscuits, which is basically these 19-cent like rolls of biscuits, and then we would decorate them with garlic and olive oil, just different things. And they were like a staple, the Chantilly biscuit. But yeah, so whatever money I had, we'd try to piece something together for the crew, and it would usually be within like 3 to 7 cents. If we had $3.79, it would be like $3.76, and be like, oh, perfect. So then we go home and make a meal, and we would all cook together and we would all eat together. That was the heart of the Hesh crew. We had a big kitchen table, and we'd all sat around that table. We smoked weed, we would draw, we would eat. We were all together, kind of like building this idea together. And we, you know what I mean? And
so it was a real creative time for you.
It was very creative. And for all of us, I mean, Sam would be always drawing. Pete would be in his room token, and he had a drawing board, and we'd draw on that. And, we would just sit around, and we would just have so much fun, like, and just like supporting each other, and like pushing ideas, and skating, and going skating, and talking about skating, and, like just everything. It was like a second phase of formative years, so we have the formative years of the turf and whatnot, but like this was like the formative years of the West Coast version of the Hesh crew, like with some added members and, some added essential elements, which it's been a good run. So that kind of fast forwarding now, like, cause now that's kind of where the story begins, where people would maybe even know of something, like no one would know about this past, getting busted for weed thing, that was in the past. And then like kind of in my reformation, I did the schooling, and then it got me ready for like to go out in the world. Cause like if those things wouldn't have happened, I'd probably still be in Milltown. I'd probably be working some deadbeat job, and like that, you know what I mean? It's like whatever happens because it's supposed to.
Yeah.
And then you just follow the cues, and hopefully keep moving forward and whatnot.
Right.
Hold on 1 second. I'm just gonna grab. I think my computer's gonna go. Let me grab a thing.
Okay. I gotta take a quick piss break.
Yeah. Word.
Hey, it's Corey at Blue Plate, 3218 Mission Street. Come see us. Meatloaf, fried chicken, deviled eggs, Dollar Olympia beers. We're here every day of the week. We got a garden and we got smiles on our faces. Come let us make you happy.
Head on over to your local shop and ask for Blood Wizard. If they're out, then you can tickety-tack on down to bloodwizard.com where you have all of your conjuring needs.
Public service announcement. And first of all, I ain't no righteous dude. I'm right there with you. I've been on 30s. I've been on 15s. I love my Vicos. I love my Norcos. But if you can't get it from grandma and you can't get it out of mommy and daddy's dresser, don't go trying to get them off somebody off the street. Because obviously they're trying to kill you and take your future house and take your parents' property and shit like that. So be smart and do what I did. Start smoking a little weed and go get yourself a little bag of gummies and take half the bag one day and half the bag next. It's 50 milligrams and you're going to be just as high and just as dopey and not die. Think about it.
Selling skateboards, not trends, since 2012. Edger Skateboard Shop is low skated here in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. If you need anything, come see us in person, because we don't do any of that online bullshit.
There's not a lot of perks in getting older. Your body falls apart and all this shit, but the wisdom that you gain, I think, is a huge one. Like, I'm really gravitating towards like the lessons I've learned and the wisdom I have. Like, this is really valuable shit. Like, it might have took me 50 years to get it, but I got some.
You got some now. You're like, I got a perspective. I got a stance. I got some insight. I could give some some sound advice, even if someone.
But I mean, as skateboarders, we're gluten for punishment, right? Like, we fall down a lot, and not to be corny and cliche, but we always pick ourselves back up. That's our theme, is to fall down, get back up, try it again, all that stuff.
I said, what's the secret? He said, it's simple. When you fall down, get your ass back up. This is skateboarding, but this is life. We're all gonna get knocked down. You got to get yourself up. Don't wait for a hand. You believe in yourself. Stand up for yourself. No fucking excuses. Make it fucking happen.
It's not coincidence that a lot of my friends are doing hard drugs. They're doing all these things that, like, they're living a hard life, because that's the type of people that get involved with what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%.
It's a hard thing to do. Skateboarding is not easy.
Not easy.
And you are in a lot of pain. So like,
you're in a lot of pain. You have to be like pretty masochistic to like enjoy that punishment.
Yeah.
And like live for that punishment. And it's like, sometimes maybe a little too much, because it's like, we don't need all those hard lessons. But after a while, it's like, well, that's the only way I know. That's the only way I do it.
Yeah.
So it's like, hopefully as you get older, you get a little smarter and you kind of limit those traumatic experiences. You know what I mean? You learn from the past ones without having to repeat them in such an extreme way. So it is what it is, man. I mean, that's the beauty of skateboarding. You know, it's like, we're just a band of freaks, man. We're like, we're not like anybody else, you know, like we take that beat down as like a learning experience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we're not even jaded from it. We're like, oh shit. Okay. You know, next time I'm not going to do that. Or
for sure. Do you think, like, I mean, I think it's pretty clear that skateboarders are tastemakers. They like set a lot of trends in life. Do you think like seeing those things get popular after it's been part of your culture, has that been something that like aggravates you? Just take a simple thing like Nirvana blowing up and how like, oh, I liked them when they were Bleach, but once it went, never mind, like that analogy, right? Like,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. I think maybe in the past, I maybe would have felt like that.
Like, do you get stoked going to Disneyland or the airport and seeing so many people wearing Thrasher shirts that like, clearly don't skate and this is kind of a trend?
No, not
like, does that bother you? Like, are you like, what happened?
I don't know. I guess I don't think about it that much. Like maybe it used to bother me.
Right.
It's more resources for Thrasher, because I know where the heart is, you know what I mean? And I know what the spirit is. And the spirit of skateboarding, the heart of skateboarding is not in the business of skateboarding. It's going to get popular, it's going to die, but it's like, we're still going to do it. You know what I mean? And it's not like, I don't know, if someone has a Thrasher sweatshirt on at the mall, it's like, whatever, dude, who cares? I don't know. Like, I just don't.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Working at the mag and I get so much, not so much now as when it really blew up, but I would get so much email about like irate kids or irate moms. Like moms a lot would email me saying, my daughter wore Thrasher shirt to school and got fucking ridiculed because she's not a skater. What are you guys going to do about it? I'm like, wait, how's it? What?
How what? Yeah.
But you get tons of that. And yeah, but I mean, it's a new era and it keeps all the lights on. And what you're saying is like, as long as the spirit stays true, like maybe that's why it is so popular.
And that's cool. And then people can support it from the sidelines. You know what I mean? If that means that, you sell that many sweatshirts or that many hats, and it allows for you guys to do like a killer trip with the guys. Hey,
yeah,
great. Do you know what I mean? As long as it keeps the ball rolling, like, I don't know, maybe that's just like not having the time or energy to like worry about that kind of stuff. Like,
well, there's so much bigger things to worry about right now.
Yeah,
like life is so gnarly and insane that you're like, the small things ain't bothering me right now, pal.
Yeah, that's pretty much. I guess that's the case.
So when you guys are at you're at the Hesh house living there, is that when Creature dies?
Yeah, actually, yeah. Crazy enough is, so I started riding for Creature in 95, and then I did school. So about 4 years of school, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then after I'm done with school, I moved to California to get it cracking. I'm like, Sam and Darren are there. They got some momentum going. I'm on my way out. We're going to do this.
Right.
I get there, and literally within a month of me arriving, they're like, yeah, we're going to pull the plug on Creature. So I'm like, oh, no way. What the fuck? Like, this is, like I've been kind of like building this momentum to get out there, kick it with the crew, get the party started, and really do it. You know? And so yeah, it was a little disheartening at first, but Eddie Alioto rode for Sector 9 at the time, and he lived at the Hesh camp, and he was like, well, these guys want to start a board company, so and I had that experience from school and doing Pupil and stuff.
Right.
I had some marketing background. I had some whatever, just from skating my whole life and kind of being a huge fan of the culture. I kind of knew what to do. So I seized that opportunity, and then probably within a couple months of like moving to California, I started Illenium.
Out of Sector 9.
Out of Sector 9, yeah.
Ah, okay.
So they were the financial backers of it, and they weren't like involved, just more than just like supporting it financially. We had our own wood shop, so I went in and I made all the shapes and the molds, and
Right.
worked with the designer to create all the graphics. Sam drew the original logo, the hoods guy, so it was like, that was it, so I just ran with that. So I just got to put my energy into that, and that was actually pretty cool.
You guys made video, like
Illenium? We didn't. I don't think we had
video.
I don't know if we had a video. We didn't. Like, a lot of the footage went to this video called So, which our buddy Bo, he's a filmer out of Florida, Mike Peterson's buddy.
Yeah.
He made a video called So I think a lot of the footage went there.
Okay.
We did a lot of tours with the different magazines. I got to put out a part with 1984. I got to be in the first 1984 video and the second. Like, that was kind of around Illenium time. I'm trying to think if there was any other videos at that time. Let's Good did a 411 piece. That's actually where a majority of his footage went from the Illenium days.
Right.
Went to his 411 part, which was.
And people didn't know Greg at that time. You just knew him because he grew up in Milwaukee, right? Yeah.
So when I moved to California to get it cracking with Creach pulled the plug. I started Illenium. Let's Go was also writing for Beer City at the time, and he had sent me a letter and a sponsor me tape and was like, hey, see, you're doing this thing. It's cool. I like it. It's rad. You're from Milwaukee. And I had known him from the Pupil days, like, of Milwaukee. He was just a kid, but he was like one of the rippingest kids. And then his mom was an alder person for the south side of Milwaukee. So when we had like petitions, signings, and stuff to help get a skate park for Milwaukee, like at our Pupil jams, Greg's mom would come and get involved, and she helped push some of that stuff through to the city government and stuff.
Okay.
So I knew Lutzka's. I knew the family.
Sure.
And then he hit me up, and I was like, yeah, that sounds cool. Like, is it going to be cool with Mike Beer? And he's like, yeah, he understands, I need to go to something bigger. So I was like, okay, cool. Well, we're taking a trip to Tampa. We'll see you in Tampa. If you want to ride for Illenium at that time, you can say you ride for Illenium. So he rode in Tampa, rode for Illenium. He was like 15 or 16. No, he's 15. He got top 10. At the end of the trip, we were going to go on a road trip. I mean, at the end of the contest, we were going to go on a road trip through Florida with Peterson and the boys. And, I was like, well, we got an extra spot. You want to come on the trip? And he was like, or no, actually, you know what? We had a dinner. We had a team dinner after the contest. And I asked him, and I asked everybody at the table, I was like, so what do you guys think? You guys like this guy? Is he all right? Everyone's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, Greg, you want to ride for Illenium? Yeah. So that was kind of made it official. And then his dad was down there, obviously chaperoning him. And after the next day, I asked him, I said to his dad, I was like, hey, we got an extra seat in the van. If you want to let your boy come on the trip, I'll look after him. I'll make sure everything goes for him, and then sure enough, he came on the trip, and boom, he was on the team. That was it. That was kind of like and he crushed it on that trip. It was unbelievable. I mean, he was out of control. He would come on one trip with us, and he could do all of his tricks, and then he would watch everybody, just like see everybody else skating. Next trip, he could do everybody's tricks. He could not only had his tricks, but he could do everything that everybody else was doing too. And it's like, he just was progressing so fast. And he actually went pro at age 16 for Illenium. Yeah. And I mean, rightfully so. He was,
270 lip slide every time.
Oh, well, I mean, among other things. Yeah. I mean, that became like his signature, but back then, dude, I mean, he was literally doing everything. It was
everything. Oh, yeah. Very talented. So then like Illenium crashes and you go into Globe, right?
Yeah. I don't know if it's crash, kind of a crash. So Illenium decides, I don't know if like they were getting ready to sell to Billabong or what, Sector was doing. Sector had its own path and it was doing great. and they didn't have a. They had a small team. I want to say they don't have a team, but they didn't really have a team. They didn't really have to do like a lot of marketing, like what skateboarding does. Like we had a team, we had team riders, we had to do trips, we had to buy ads, you know, so it was an expensive process to help build this brand. And they were like, whoa, why do we got to do all this? You know, we just sell longboards. So they didn't want to sacrifice the mothership. So they cut their losses. Even though Illenium was doing great and building momentum and had the potential to be a really successful brand, they were like, well, we're just going to pull the plug, you know? So that happened.
Was it all like instantaneous, or did they give you like, hey, we're going to do this in a bit, or?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty instantaneous, you know. I mean, they gave us a few months to kind of figure it out and to see. They gave us the option to like buy the name and like keep doing it. And like I was having some meetings with a guy over at Birdhouse, and he was kind of mentoring me as to what to do to kind of like continue the brand. And it was just like a lot of work, and they were going to charge us $100,000 for the name and the logo and, you know, all this stuff. And it was like, you know, it was just like, it was just a pain in the ass. And we didn't like all the team riders, they didn't even like go for new sponsors right away. They just didn't take any new sponsors because we were going to try to keep it going.
Right.
And eventually it didn't really work out. And, Globe was looking for a new team manager / marketing manager. And Greg and Peterson were at Globe. So they were like, dude, come over here and, you know, we'll keep the team together. We'll keep the dream alive. Like, it'll just be like Illenium days. And I was like, I didn't really want to do that, but it was, you know, I did it, you know what I mean? So, and I did it. And, that was just another chapter. So,
what was the best and worst part of that whole era? I'm saying best part was the Enjoy premiere, because that was one of the best nights of my life.
Hello, my friend.
That was a great night. I remember that partially. But yeah, getting to travel around was really cool. You know, getting to travel with them and do stuff and get to go to Australia and like work with the guys.
Oh, right.
And, you know, got to go to Australia a bunch and do different stuff. And, you know, it was good and bad. It was, you know, it was a good experience. It wasn't really my thing. Like, you know, like I still seen all my guys, like we're all in Thrasher and in the magazine and doing stuff. And I was like, ooh, this is hard, man. Like I'm in the office, like, you know, Chet would come to town or somebody would come to town. You're like, hey, let's go skate this pool in Hollywood or something. I'd be like, let me see if I can get off of work early and come and meet you guys, you know, like that kind of thing. And I was just like, this is tough. Cause I was still skating the whole time.
Right.
You know, I was just like, but when I was in that role, when I was doing my job, I was the global marketing manager for Globe. I did my job, you know, and I showed up for work every day. I did everything that I had to do. I handled all my duties. And then when I got done, I would go skate. So on the weekends, I would skate. After work, I would skate. I lived in Redondo Beach at the time because Globe was in El Segundo. So that's right kind of in the very early stages of San Pedro. So I would skate Pedro a bunch, you know, every day after work. And I would meet up. My crew back then was Olson, Lance Mountain, and Eric Dressen. I would meet up with them at the Glendale Park.
Damn, that's
after work. After work, after work, I'd go out there and get to skate with those guys.
No big deal.
Oh, it was like, I was like, it was a big deal. It was a huge deal to me. I mean,
yeah, fuck.
You know, but it was like, even at a time when like no one was really paying attention to those guys, you know what I mean? So it was just kind of like this in between time, you know?
Yeah.
But that was part of my crew. The crew that I would link up with to skate, like in LA, you know, because like Sam and Darren and Pete and everybody, they were down south, you know, so I didn't get my sessions with my crew, my typical crew. So when I lived up here, I was like, well, who's my crew up here? So I'd go skate with those guys and
that's cool.
Go skate Pedro after work and, link with some of those heads. And
did you go to that contest in Australia, the Globe Thrasher one with the double set at the Sydney Opera House?
That was the one. That was one that I missed. I think that was at the very tail end. That was the one. I went to almost all of them, but I didn't go to that one.
I think the owner or CEO or something.
Yeah.
One of the higher ups, he tried to jump the double set on rollerblades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was Gary Valentine. Yeah.
Yeah, Gary Valentine. P-Stone had the footage. It was so sick.
GV, mate. He jumped the fucking double set, mate. Bloody legend. No, it was sick. I remember that was the only one that I didn't go to. I was like, I went to all of them and I was like, that one looked pretty ep.
And what about the fucking Tampa thing? So the loop, that's the first time they made the loop?
That's the first time they made it for public. Right. So
this is before Tony Hawk and
no, it was after Tony. It was after Tony.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
He made it in Mexico or something, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
So that was actually when I first got to California. I'm friends with Team Payne and Tim Payne, obviously.
Uh-huh.
So Tim was coming out with his crew to build the loop in Tijuana. And he hit me up. He was like, hey, you want to help us build this loop? So I was down there. I was down in Tijuana for a week. I helped build the original loop in the bull ring.
Wow.
Yeah, and I got to do that one as well.
That's the first time that the wooden built loop existed, right?
Correct. Yes.
And who was the first to do it?
Well, it was Tony. Like for some reason, people think it was me. That was like some urban legend, but no, Tony was the first. And then I don't know if I was second or Pete was second, but me and Pete did it right.
Oh, Hewitt was there too.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of how that went.
Yeah.
It was, so anyways, I was down there for a week, right? Building the loop. And like so we had the Team Payne crew, and then we had like a bunch of Mexican guys from Tijuana that were also on the crew helping to build. And I was working with those guys every day, and they would joke around, me like, "You gonna do it? You gonna do it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do it." And they'd be like, they just, they die laughing. I'm like, yeah, right. So anyways, we got done with the whole job, and it's like a whole week of it. And then Tony comes down. We had dinner. I was like with Tony and Bucky, and went out for this nice Mexican restaurant, like homemade tortillas, just boom. I got to chill with Tony, and it was sick. Then I went home. So my job was done there. So I went home. And I was the next day, and I think I got some beer. I called up some homies. I had a little dough in my pocket, and was chilling by the pool. And Tony calls up Peter because he's like, "Hey, Pete, I got this loop down here, and I just wanted to see if you wanted to come and try it." Because apparently Tony figured Hewitt was the only person crazy enough to actually try it, right? I mean.
Be my test pilot.
Yeah. So Tony calls Pete, and Pete's like, "Oh yeah, hey, what's up, Tony? Yeah, for sure. Is it cool if my buddy Al comes?" And Tony's like, "Al, like Al Partanen? Like, yeah, of course. He was just, of course, bring him along. So I got to jump onto that. Like I got invited back, and I wouldn't have been there otherwise. You know what I mean? So Pete asked Tony. Tony said, "For sure, cruise down." So I actually got to go back to Mexico a couple of days after building the loop, and then got to do it. So yeah, it was pretty sick, pretty weird chain of events, but pretty stoked.
What was the first attempt like? Did you have the pads down and kind of inch your way, or did you?
Yeah. So it
was
like
scary as shit, or did you feel confident figuring it out?
Not at all. Not at all. It was like that. I was going around, right? And then the hardest part was to allow yourself to kind of actually go over the thing. So you would get to the top and almost collapse, because it was this weird thing of allowing yourself to flip over, right? It was like doing a huge carve in a pool, but upside down.
Yeah.
So once we figured that out and we were kind of going into the pads, it was like, okay, zooping around and then going into the pad, getting past the 12 o'clock point.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, take the pads out. So I was like that. I was like, okay, take the pads out. And I went for it and actually went around the loop. And then it was like a corkscrew. So when I went around, I came back the other side and I hit the edge of the ramp for the up part. So my trucks hit that, came to a dead stop. I slammed into the wall and my right leg popped out of socket and came up and like kicked me in the back of the head.
Oh, mama.
Dude.
It was gnarly. Like, I mean, I fractured my pelvis. So I didn't have insurance at the time. So I never got to go to the hospital to see what it was, but I had to lay in bed for 4 months, like lay in bed. Like if I would move out of bed, I'd start crying and I'd have to lay there for another week for it to stop hurting again. Like it was really bad.
Oh my
God. I did, even though I pulled myself back up to the top of the ramp because I was like, I'm never going to get this opportunity again.
Yeah.
So I pulled myself back up and did the loop. And then I was done for 4 months. But I did do it.
That's amazing.
So yeah. So that was the first time. And then in Tampa, not too long after, it was okay, this is the public loop. This is where it's going down. In Tampa.
The day Brian Schaefer.
Yeah, well, Schaefer's thing, Hewitt before him, but it was a crazy. So I was up there. So I was actually about to go there. And I had met these girls the night before, and they're like, we go to the temple every Sunday morning for Thai food. Do you want to go? And I was like, yeah, for sure. So I went with them. They picked me up. I was hungover, sleeping on the floor of someone's hotel. They pull up and they're like, Parts, there's somebody in the parking lot. Some hot chicks are here for you. And I was like, oh, right. Oh, yeah, I forgot. I told them we're going to the temple. Yeah. So I got up, and it was pretty early, because it was before the event. And so I went to the temple with the girls, and, I had this traumatic experience previous. I mean, it took me out for 4 months, and I hear I'm going to do it again. So I'm like sitting there, and like they're making me like a papaya salad fresh off the thing. The monks, they would sell all this Thai food to support the temple.
Yeah.
And it's on this water. It's beautiful. It's like at the temple. And so I'm sitting there and I'm having my papaya salad. And then I see all the monks come out of out of their like one place, and they're going into this other place. And it's like, so anyways, they go and they're circling around where they're going to go and meditate or whatever. And then the center of that is like this fountain with the wheel of life, like the Buddhist wheel of life. And I'm looking at it and I'm eating my food and I'm like, oh man, that's the loop. So the wheel of life, I'm like, that's the loop. And I go to the girl, I'm like, hey, can you go talk to those guys and see if they'll bless me? Because I'm about to do something really crazy that I'm a little bit nervous about. And I think it would just be a huge help, and she's like, sure. So sure enough, like I go and they bring me into the temple, and they're all like, all the monks are all around the walls. And like the main guy comes over me and he starts doing like some chants and splashes me with some Buddha water. And
oh man.
Yeah, it was epic, dude. So I'm like, okay, I'm good, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm ready for this one. I'm not gonna have this same traumatic experience as the first time. So I get there, and now I'm like out in the parking lot, and I'm like trying to find my pads, and I'm getting my stuff together, and Jake Brown comes up and he's like, hey, mate, you going for it? And I'm like, yeah, for sure. And he's like, you want a beer? And I'm like, yes, I do. So I actually shotgunned a beer with him, or shotgunned one and drank one. So I had like Blessed by the Monks and 2 Budweisers.
Liquid courage.
And now I'm up on the thing, right? And it's like there's Burnquist and Hewitt and then me. And like, I don't know, Pete and Bob maybe had this thing. I'm not exactly sure, but they were like, it seemed like a little bit of like a competition or something, So like, they're like looking, and then like, I think it was Bob first, I'm not sure. But he's like, take the pads away. And like, I was having a beer with Jake, so I didn't get the first few tries with the pads. Oh. So I just got up there. I'm just like, I'm in the lineup now between the two big dogs, you know? And I'm like, okay. So Bob's like, take the pads out. He goes, he bails. And then Pete's right behind him. He goes and he bails. And then now I'm up. I'm just standing there. I'm just like, lick my finger to the wind. Boom, just dropped and did it first tee.
No.
Like, yeah, dude. Like
so sick.
So I ended up being the first dude, first tee. Like I had just got there and I fucking somehow
blessed.
Yeah, so I think it was the blessing and the two brewskis that set me in the zone. So, and the fact that I didn't want, that first time, like it devastated me, but I didn't want to go through that again. So I was just like all in.
Would you say one of the keys? I've never done it, but I spoke to Lizzie and a few people that have done it, and in their minds, what I'm taking from what they said is the key is not to like pump. Like to kind of let the board, like you don't like you want to pump because you're used to skating tranny, but you kind of don't do that, and it just naturally. I don't know. I can't even imagine the fucking thing.
It is like that. It is. You really like. It's kind of like pumping. Like if you were to like have a big wide open pool and you kind of do that like, woo woo double pump where you like stick to the wall for a really long time.
Right.
Kind of like that. Like you don't over pump it. You just kind of like pump it. But the trick is what I did is like, so you go and you kind of like, so they had stickers through the center. Like, so it was kind of like a
Salba line,
like a Salba line going through the very center. So you knew what was the middle. So you didn't wipe out or do what I did the first time, right? So they had like a sticker line. So basically when you drop down, you go and then you point at the sticker line, right? And then you point kind of up over your shoulder and then you just follow your hand. So you kind of like, you see your line the whole time and then you don't freak out. You know what I mean? And then before you know it, you're coming out, you're like, you're out, you're like, whoa. But yeah, if you go in to try to pump it, a lot of times what happens is you compress and then hit the ceiling and then flat drop.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like this thing where you kind of like, you just have to like allow yourself to do it. That's like life. You know what I mean? You try too hard and you collapse. But if you just allow yourself to do it, it happens. You know what I mean?
It's do the shave forever though. That one where you flip, you just like you see that, and then you just think that's what's gonna happen. Like I tell everybody, if you're gonna do the loop, don't watch that because if you get that in your head, you're gonna be fucked.
The ragdoll, like little swoots. Just
yes, like, shit, man. I could talk to you forever. Let's get to the modern day stuff. You went through Levi's and stuff. You got a lot of travel. I was curious to like what's maybe an easy one is, or maybe it's not easy, but like what's one of your favorite places in the world? You've got to go to some remote places and some non-remote places. I mean, how does fucking whatever Afghanistan fucking or somewhere where you guys were in like Israel and all kinds of places, right?
We went all over. I mean, we did Bangalore, India, which was probably one of my faves. Another one of my favorites would have been La Paz, Bolivia.
Really?
Like, even Town Park was epic. You know what I mean? Like again, and all that stuff was really cool. Let's see, the last one we did was in Tagazout, Morocco. Beautiful fishing village in Morocco and North Africa. That was cool. We got to travel around a bit with that one. Not only we're in Tagazout, but we actually did some traveling around in Morocco, which was really cool. But yeah, I mean, one of the coolest ones besides Bangalore which was the first one, would have been La Paz, Bolivia.
Bolivia.
Because that one was really cool. Like Chet and I lived in tents up in, so in that one, it was like the whole city, the city's at 10,000 foot elevation, right? Highest capital city in the world. So you get acclimated, you're chewing on coca leaves, drinking coca tea, blah, blah, blah. But the whole city is like, it's just like, it looks like these red bricks, like everything's built out, all the hills, all the mountains, everything around, all the way down to the valley. It's just packed, right? So where the skate park was the only green space in the whole city, in this massive city. And it was like built into this hill, and it was all these eucalyptus trees, and they had like a waterfall and a slide, and it was just really cool, right? So because this was a volunteer project, there was, and they had these palapas all over the park. So what they did is where we built the skate park was a reservoir previously.
Okay.
So it had this waterfall that came into a reservoir where they kind of diverted the waterfall. But they took the plastic that was at the base of the reservoir and wrapped all the palapas and made basically like hotels for everybody. It was like we all lived in tents. So everyone was there. We were there for like a month. Everyone's living in tents. Well, the tents were a little dark because they were just wrapped in black plastic. So Chet and I set up our little personal tents, and we made our own little camp. But we were in this, we lived in the only
one where you're in like a kind of a small zone. I remember there was like a video or photos, I can't remember, but Chet was like, his tent took up the whole space. It was like in a hallway or something.
Oh, that was the year before Levi's. Chet and I volunteered and went down to Costa Rica and volunteered and lived in an abandoned schoolhouse for a month while we helped these other guys build a skate park in Costa Rica. That was the Pura Vida skate park.
Okay.
And then the La Paz was the Pura Pura skate park. So this is like, that one was actually, that wasn't a Levi's project, but that one was all time. Yeah, that one with the Chet, man, that one was all time. I love that one. We lived in that schoolhouse, and we did art and played cards, and just, I don't know, it was just cool. It was cool.
You've always been able to put up with Chet, like all his insanity. I mean, Chet will tell you, like, me and Chet are great friends. I ain't talking shit, but he'll tell you he's insane. Like, he has his like wake up early, and he has to do his rituals, all that stuff. But you guys have always, like, you guys travel a lot and hang out, and it's a good one, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I just
yin and yang, maybe
something. Something. No, it was cool actually. After the Globe thing, and right when Creach restarted, because that was actually another thing that kind of happened was that after Globe, like at the tail end of Globe 2005, like we were talking about the resurrection. So that's when we brought Creach back. So I left office life just to skate. You know what I mean? That's been 17 years now since I haven't been in an office. You know what I mean?
Drive-ins, premiere, kids. Have you ever been to a drive-ins for a premiere? Because we have.
Yeah.
No, I was going to tell you, I've been to 3 islands with you: Cayman, Orcas, and Maui.
Yes. Beautiful. I love it, dude. We've never been to Australia, huh?
Nah, I've never been to Australia ever. Oh. I'm so bummed.
We got to get that one going.
Yeah, I was going to ask you the reason I was building on these great places you've been. I think you're thinking of them probably from an experience that's probably different from what I'm leading to. But I'm about to get married, and I'm thinking of an epic honeymoon location. As we know, I love to snorkel and be in the tropics. Hawaii is the easy one, but like, obviously Bali or somewhere like that probably is amazing. Like, what would you suggest for the ultimate?
I don't know, man. That snorkeling we did in the Cayman was pretty epic, dude.
Oh yeah.
That was probably some of the sickest snorkeling I ever remember. I mean, if you love snorkeling, I mean, that was pretty special.
Being with Cranny, I swear to God, I've never he made me feel like I could snorkel to a different degree because that motherfucker can swim like no one I've ever met. And I just felt like I ain't gonna drown as long as I'm with him. So he really built my confidence, and that's helped me really. I remember we went out pretty far, and then maybe you and Darren and Alex, or I don't know, a different group went way further, and I was just like, this is not. That was one of my first experiences. So I was
that was I was
green.
What's his name? We call it. I forgot. I can't think of his name right now. I can see his face, but he was the Nike team manager.
Andy Henry.
Yes, Andy.
The Doc.
The Doc, dude. Doc was going deep too, man. Dude,
yeah, there was a crew that had it dialed, and I was kind of getting my feet wet, literally. And Cayman was a good one.
That was a good one, and I remember we went all the way out. We explored some abandoned pirate ship or something like that.
Yeah, it was the sunken.
There were sharks and shit. It was fucking sick, dude. That actually, I kind of freaked myself out on that one because we went so deep and we were getting so into it that when I came back up, I realized how far and how deep I was. I was like, whoa, dude. I'm gonna start making my way back now. This is a little too far. But yeah, it's.
And who was the one? Somebody put fucking anchovy juice on Darren's back or somebody's back when we went swimming with the stingrays. And then they never wanted to do stingrays again.
Yes. Epic.
Dude, that was fucking the trips have always been all time. You gotta give a first impression, a P-Stone, or an early getting to know Preston on your first trip or something. When did you really click gears with that dude?
I think P, I think I clicked with P straight away. Obviously he was one of the boys. But what I think he kind of one of my early trips was with Buddy and Rick. After moving to California, one of my early trips was to Quito.
Huh.
And
the one where Pete got the cover? No,
that was previous. This was another one. We went back after that, and that was with Buddy and Rick, P-Stone Rhino, Bailey, Bobby Pulio, Tino Razzo.
Good crew.
What's his name? I can't think. I'm trying to think. Skatopia. Hold on one second. I gotta take a leak real quick.
Okay.
Who's ever on that side of that keyboard, I'm coming for you, man.
And now, another first impression with Alexander Scott Horn.
Cranny! It's Cranny. This will be my first impression of Al Parton. I was in high school, San Diego, Mission Bay High, and my neighbor was Troy O'Mahony, the Dirty Aussie. We went to the Human Ramp for some party. I was hammered, obviously, as a kid. And we're leaving the party, gonna head back to PB. And Troy O'Mahony, the Dirty Aussie, was brought this dude with us, Al, from Milwaukee. And he looked like when you're a kid, the guy he was probably 21 or something like that. I was 16 or 17. He looked like he was 30 to me. Anyways, we're getting back to the car. I'm like, damn, we already have a packed car. I think it was me, Peter Jimenez, Dirty Aussie, and a few other homies. So the car was packed, and Al tried to muscle me into the trunk. I was like, hell no. Wait, what? No, I was here first. I came out from my house with Dirty Aussie, and wait, now I'm being delegated to the trunk? No, man. I just actually almost did it. I was so close to being like, fuck it, this guy's some Milltown Hesh, fucking carving his name on picnic benches and riding BMX around with Sam Hitz. But I stood my ground. I was like, dude, no. He's like, wow, dude, come on, dude, I would do that. I run around Mill all the time, just hopping in trunks. That's how we get around to parties and shit, dude, come on. I'm like, dude, it's 15, 20-minute drive back to the house. I'm not, you get in, please. Don't, no, I'm over it. Anyways, he just was like, took it like a champ, was like, nah, dude, no worries. Fucking boom, popped in the trunk, slammed that shit, and we split back to PB. Kind of a radical introduction to the dude, even though I was a little bummed that he tried to muscle me into the back like a bully. But ended up, like, years later, befriending him, even more so, being roommates with him, traveling the world, discovering his radicalness. Love him. Big time, forever. Love you, Parts.
Little cold brew. Little cold brew.
Perfect timing. Bruce
Martin. Yes, of course.
I was like, but
we knew that. We knew that. How could you ever forget Bruce Martin? I mean, he's an epic human. But yeah, I was with Bruce Martin and like all the boys. It was sick. Bailey. But that was like, I remember before that calling P-Stone and just asking him like, dude, I've never been on a trip like this. What do I bring? Like, what do I do? Like all this stuff. And he just kind of like talked me through it and like, Big Al, you know, just bring lots of extra product, bring extra shoes for people, bring some socks, you know, and like, you know, it's like, you know, obviously, you know, and we all know, anyone that's spent time with P-Stone, it was just like, it was always the best. It was the best. It was literally the best. Like,
yeah, he's definitely a huge spirit missing in my
his
life.
Spirit, his enthusiasm, his understanding, his ability to connect with people. I mean, it's just like, it's all time, you know. I mean,
All right, I'm ready for you, bud.
I have a very similar experience where I wouldn't even call him. I'd text him probably like before a trip, some like weird, because I'm a weirdo. I would send him some weird shit and he would respond, looks like Schmitty's going on a trip, when he starts texting me these weird questions.
Yeah.
He had it figured out.
Oh,
He was
yeah.
like, oh, here goes your anxiety going full fledged. You know? My favorite one was we were in New York for my first time. And it was a skate rock. We're fucking coming into New York. He's like, I can't believe I finally make it to New York with Schmitty, right?
Yeah.
And me and him always roomed. And I just got fucking hammered that night. Like first time, you know, whatever.
That's
The
what you
next
do.
morning I woke up and I'm cashed out, like hangover done. I can't even move. And he's like, hey, I'm going to go get some da-da-da. And I'll never forget this. I look at him, I'm like, you think they got bagels? And he looks at me, he's like, you think they got bagels in New York? Are you fucking kidding me? And that one never slipped.
Yeah,
like, you know how there's certain ones that you hold on to for the rest of your life? 5 years later, Preston will be like, remember when you were asking for bagels in New York?
Are you out of your mind?
It's like, you think they got bagels?
That's what I'll never forget about Preston is his memory for the gotcha moment. Like that's where we
guaranteed.
all kind of, I really think bonded with our like, it's not talking shit, but it's kind of pushing a button, but it's okay because we're bros. But that one, I'm not letting you slip, bro. Like,
Oh,
you know?
guaranteed. I'm gonna carry that one with me, dude. It's just like, now I know, dude. You think they got bagels? I can see the situation. I can see the lighting in the room. I can see you like P-Stone's probably been up. He's got a warm brew. He's editing some footage from the night before. You're like hanging in the bed.
Yeah.
They got bagels, and he's just like,
Big dog's in.
How many times he said, wow.
Wow.
Can't fucking believe that one. Okay. Yeah, the old neutralizer was always in the, he always had one in the camera bag, like in the slot where you would put a lens.
Oh, yeah.
There was a beer in there, but that was the one that he was hoping you would take and think like, okay, you got me. But then there's like 3 or 4 other ones planted around in the room that you have no idea where they are.
We squirrel them up, dude. I mean, he was the king of swirling brews. I mean, you could be 2 hours past beer time and P-Stone would pull out a warmie from somewhere. You'd be like, what?
Yeah.
Skadoosh.
Hold on. Important.
You know, and then he'd just be like, what, you want to rip?
Yeah.
Hey, Big Al, you want to rip? Yeah, fucking come on. Oh, shit, this is warm. He's like, yeah, that was from like a couple of days ago.
The Skadoosh game, the first experience I had with that, I mean, you're just a kid in a candy shop laughing, having the best time of your life. You're like, the simplest things make us love. Like, it was just fuck, man, I miss those dudes a lot. It's been crazy, like losing some, like, you know, Hubbard, Jake, and P-Stone within 3 years was a huge hit for so many of us that, like,
absolutely.
Whew, and every day you got to carry it with you, and you're like, okay, we got this though. You end up becoming like closer friends with friends of the guy that you're missing, because you're trying to keep that you're carrying that, like you're never like what, never forget, always remember, like, I'm not hating on that, but like, you don't have to tell me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'll never forget. I'll always remember. Like, you know, like that stuff is like embedded in our brains. Like, how many miles, like I told somebody, I was like, it becomes
part of who we are. I mean,
I've never slept in a bed in a hotel room next to anyone like Jake and Preston. That was my team. That was my road crew. Like, if we were going to LA for the day, if we were going on a trip for 12 days, I was rooming with one or both those guys. Like, in Paris, we had like 10 of us in one fucking room, you know, it's like, but it always was. So I don't know. I ain't trying to go negative Nancy, but like, fucking, I know you got big love for those dudes, and obviously
100%.
It was a heavy hit losing those, but I always appreciate stories and kind of just, you know, rehyping some of the, you know, I stayed up all night in my tent in Orcas Island, asleep, but somehow laughing. I remember waking up laughing, woke me up because Darren and fucking P-Stone were up all night talking shit back and forth to each other at the campfire, drinking beers, and I'm just laughing in my tent. That's priceless forever, you know? So
many adventures, you know, losing all the boys, man, that definitely rocked the whole culture to its core, especially us who've been there for a long time and know what that really means. You know, it's like, you know, and I talked about this to Rabbi, you know, cause he's part owner of Grindline, and it's like, with that whole thing, it puts an extra responsibility on us. Do you know what I mean? To like carry that torch, because there isn't like a lot of people. I don't know. I'm 72. P-Stone was 72.
Yeah.
Hubs and Jake and Grosso, obviously a little bit older, but you know, like guys that are of that generation and of that era, and that have seen and witnessed, not only seen and witnessed, but like studied and experienced and felt like all of that culture from that time going forward. So it's not only like, oh, I'm a fan of skating from now, I'm a fan of skating from all the way back then until now. And I've been completely immersed in it the whole time. So, you know, like all of those guys and their perspectives and what they brought to the table, and their whatever it was all essential to the evolution of the culture. Like, if it wouldn't have been the same without those guys.
Yeah, 100%.
And, you know, us being some others that are older that are left, it's like, it's a sense of responsibility to kind of like nurture some of that spirit and to carry some of that into the future, you know, like, so.
Yeah. And it's a tricky one. I mean, in 2021, it's a whole different, you know, ball game.
Whole different world.
Yeah, like 1980s, Jay Adams and all the shit that was going on. But it's like, dude, you want to fucking read about the Wild West, or do you want to partake in the Wild West?
Yeah.
You know, it's like shit happens. There's some fucking crazy shit. Like, there's crazy people involved doing crazy things, like
crazy shit.
Yeah. And it's hard. I see a lot of stuff going on, and it's like, dude, I got therapy. I ain't ashamed. I get it once a week, and I encourage everyone to do it. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. And I was telling my therapist exactly what you said today. I was talking to her, and I'm like, I feel this burden of, how do I continue to carry this torch of this person that's no longer there in that spirit at a time where like a lot of that spirit is looked down upon, yet people are celebrating it once. It's so confusing and hard, you know, like it's just such a challenge. And I say to Jake Phelps, who was a lot in my ear through the years, you fucking checked out and left me to deal with the bullshit. That's what you said about everybody else that died when you were alive, pal. Fucker. But yeah, that shit's, it's heavy, man. As skateboarders, as people that have the passion and given 110% of ourselves to this lifestyle and stuff, it's very difficult to take some of the bumps and bruises from some of these aspects that only people that can relate to me will understand what I'm talking about. I do want to talk about Space Pupil though.
Okay.
It's basically, it started way back when.
Started in 95.
95. And
it started with the epiphany.
You kind of like picked up the old phone and did the roller. You were like, whatever the area code is, you're like, hey, Space Pupil, I want to be your friend again. Yeah. And you kind of like putting more energy towards it, huh?
Well, I mean, I guess, yeah, you could look at it like that. But it's also, if you look at it, it's like that. So like I said, I had that epiphany. I had got this new thing that kind of gave my life direction. And then I did that. I did the formative years of that, you know, going to school and doing my community networking organization in Milwaukee. But then like going, hey, I got to go to California to pursue skateboarding. Right. So I did that. And with the formulation and everything that kind of how it happened with the crew, with Creach, with the Hesh crew, with everything, with Illenium, with all this stuff, that kind of like rolled into this whole experience. Well, I had a 20-year professional skateboard career after coming out to California to pursue skateboarding, not abandoning Pupil. But what I told my friends when I left Milwaukee, I said, hey, I'm not abandoning Pupil. I'm pursuing skateboarding. I have to revitalize myself with life, with my spirit. But anything that I gain from this next chapter will eventually be brought back to Pupil. Okay. So, you know, with that being said, kind of coming full circle now, 23 years later, you know, I did Illenium, I did Creach, I was with Nike, I did Levis, I did, you know, managing for Globe, I did this, I did that. And all of this kind of like, not only skateboarding, but like on the other side of skateboarding, marketing and influencing and just directing and helping to cultivate something. That all of that experience now is exactly what I said. That's what I'm bringing back to Pupil now. So now I'm adding space because I love space. I love the idea of space, building, making better space, utilization of space, maximizing space. So that's like, it's like space, like that, you know, but it's also like space, the way we see things, you know, so I added space to it. So now it's Space Pupil. Okay. Right. So, but it's still the same spirit. So when I was doing the Levi's stuff, building skate parks in underserved communities around the world, that was Pupil at work. Do you know what I mean? That was absolutely, that was the same thing when we were, you know, traveling around with Creach for 20 years and just like trying to inspire the culture. Like when we were like spending time with people in skate shops, at skate parks, camping out in their backyards, or, you know, meeting their families or whatever, we were inspiring and hopefully like helping to cultivate something, you know, and I feel like that you know, that thing has been inside of me since I was young. And then when I actualized it with Pupil, but then, you know, I brought that with me to California as part of me and part of my spirit. And now coming full circle, it's like, okay, I'm in the twilight of my career as far as like having all the sponsors and stuff like that. But I still want to contribute to the culture in a way and utilize this experience that I have and also this love for the creation of it, you know? So it's like, that's what Space Pupil is. It's not like, oh, I'm trying to be the next big skateboard company. No, I'm just trying to do my thing and keep this ball rolling and enjoy what I love to do and contribute to this culture that I love that has given me so much, you know? So it's like, it's a bit of that, you know, it's a lot of that, you know? So that's kind of what it is. It's an outlet. It's a reason to continue to network with people, to work with artists, to get skate spots built, you know, to get skate parks built eventually. You know, if it has any success in any way, we are going to contribute and, you know, cultivate the culture, you know, and in a positive way and in a way where we're contributing. We're not here to like capitalize on it or try to make something off of it or resting on our laurels. Like we're moving forward and growing and evolving with it, you know? So that's the idea, you know? It's a lot of words that, you know, I need to like make my mission statement, but you know, it has a lot of, it's inspired by all of the past, you know, and the positive aspects and, you know, the things that I learned from falling down, you know?
Yeah. Is the idea to like build a team? Like, is it going to be, are you thinking of it in those terms? Or are you like, what's the end goal?
Yeah. I mean, right now it's like, you know, I have a couple guys that I'll give boards to and stuff, but it's not, I don't want to necessarily say that like, it's like a team, like a skate team. It's more like we're building, it's a crew, you know, like we're building the idea and I want to do different stuff with different artists and it's, you know, it's a bigger idea and it's like not just skateboards. It's not like, oh, this is Al's skateboard company. Cause I skate for Creach.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
You still do.
Like,
right.
This is an outlet. And then I have some other avenues that I want to explore with it. But because skateboarding is my wheelhouse, I come from skateboards, that seemed to be the most logical way to start. But there is like some other future projects, future products, future involvements that I plan to do with it that are bigger, that are more rooted kind of in the Pupil idea. You know what I mean? Than just like the people uplifting people in life, which is what Pupil stands for. So, you know, that's the spirit behind it, but it's also, it's not just trying to be the biggest or the best skateboard company. That's not it at all.
Right.
It's definitely not that.
Right. Is there a website?
Yeah, there's a website, just spacepupil.com.
So is the goal in some ways to get people to contribute finances to help fund maybe projects in the future type of things? Like,
yeah, I mean,
we want to go to location A and build B and we need this amount of money to do it, or what's the idea?
Yeah, I mean, that would be some of the things. As it grows, you know, we try to cultivate those ideas. So it's really small. It's like a little garage operation for me right now. It's not like, it's almost like it's costing me money to do the brand right now.
You're doing it out of your house?
Keep the ball rolling. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. I do it right out of my garage, you know, so it's like,
cool.
And I get the boards made locally and I get them screen printed locally, you know, either Chicken or Cholo screen print them.
Sick.
And I pick them up. I go and pick up all the boards. I get all this, you know, it's like, it's a one-man operation. So it's not like it's a money maker. You know what I mean? It's a passion project right now. So there's some other bigger ideas that hopefully will help generate some funds, which will allow us to contribute and also get, you know, some more of these building projects done, getting some more supporting of some different causes and doing more, contributing more. I mean, that's the intention, is to contribute. Right now we're contributing with like cool products and stuff that you haven't seen yet and a different idea. But as it evolves, it will show more of itself, and it will provide more for more people, you know.
You just influenced somebody.
You guys got stickers?
Yeah. I mean, we got all the stuff.
Send me some stickers, because I'm like a kid in a candy shop again. I got fucking 4 binders, and I put all my stickers and binders in alphabetical order, and just one of each. Like COVID, like boy in the bubble, pandemic, just like what do I do? And I went crazy. I did all that, and now I'm just like a baseball card collector with stickers again. I've been so. Fucking, that'd be sick.
I got some cool stickers. I'll send you some of the Space Pupil stickers, but I'll also send you some gems. I've got
I'd be hyped.
A little sticker collection. Yeah.
Fucking OGBK sent me fucking boom.
Yes. Love that one.
I was like,
I think I had a pack of those back in the day. That was like at the time when I actually rode for Schmit.
I told him, and this wasn't just to tell him to butter him up, but I think I haven't had that board I had more of than any other board in the history of my board. I loved it. It was so good. The wood, the concave, the shape, everything about it. I fucking loved it.
I mean, at that time, those Schmit boards were like, they were like furniture quality. You know what I mean? They were just absolutely beautiful. I mean,
and like an ollie just sounded and felt different. It was just like, I remember, having a lot to those.
That's a fine craftsmanship. I mean, they had a great team, that was like top shelf.
Okay, let's end it here. I got a few questions that came in my way from the Instagram folks.
Okay, all right.
We got the Look Back Library. He wants to know, has anyone confused you with Ron Jeremy?
Come on. That's all you got? Really?
That's all you
got?
Come
on. That is absolutely corny. Ron Jeremy, sure. Howard Stern, sure. Frank Zappa, sure. Jerry Garcia, sure. Who knows?
To the Carmine!
I mean, look at it. This is a look, man. People got that. Like, the guy's kind of gross. Like, my hair is way better than his.
We could do better. Well, that goes into our next question. Matt D, the homie at Deluxe Skate Shop here in SF.
Hey, it's Matt D at DLX Skate Shop, 1831 Market at Guerrero, as in Tommy. Come see us. Real, Antihero, Crooked, Thunder, Venture, Spitfire. We are here every day of the week except the big holidays. We've got a curb and we've got smiles on our faces. Come let us get you stoked.
He says, please give me some hair tips.
Hair tips.
He's got the long do too, and he's a rocker, and he wants.
Okay, hair tip. You don't have to wash it all the time. When you do, put the shampoo on there. Get a decent shampoo. Rinse that out. Then put your conditioner on. Get a decent conditioner. Leave the conditioner on the whole time while you scrub and rub and clean the rest of your body. Rinse the conditioner out last. Put your fingers through it. Set it and forget it, baby. That's it. It's done. You don't put a comb in there. You got to let it be natural.
Pantene.
I know that's corny, but that's a hair tip.
No, it's true. Conditioner is important. If I just shampoo my hair, it will just go like it just
Frizztown Steve.
It's nuts. Seaport Vision wants your reggae top 5.
Cool. Let's see. I like goes pretty deep. I like Laxley Castell is great. What was that song that I sent you earlier? Hopeton Lewis. I like that song, Take It Easy. There's so much. I mean, Bunny Whaler, R.I.P., who just passed. I mean, triple OGs to what's the dude, like Sizzler. I like a lot of different reggae. I like mostly roots and reggae. I mean, roots and culture. It's all good. Those are some of them. Those are a few.
All right. Bad Shit Trixie chiming in.
Yes.
She wants to ask if you remember picking her up at a Denny's dressed like a hooker.
Yes, of course. Absolutely. That was actually in my Globe days. That was I think she did a show or something in LA, and she got stranded, and that's when I was working at Globe, and she called me. She's like, I'm down here and this and that. So I went and picked her up, and we stopped at that's when I was living in Redondo. We stopped at my place in Redondo. I think we did a couple shots of White Donkey. That was just like chilled tequila on ice. Did a White Donkey shot, and then drove her down to San Diego to like meet up with some of her other friends down there. But yeah, I absolutely remember that. I know Tony actually mentioned something about that during the rider rally. He's like, "Oh, always thank you, man. You saved my wife's life one time. Like you picked her up when she was down and out or something." And it's like, of course, man. That's what we do. That's what we do for our friends. It doesn't matter male, female. I mean, we look out for each other. That's how we always roll, you know.
That's right.
I would do it to this day. You know, if any one of you guys called me and I could help out, I would do it.
Tony and Trixie's wedding, the first skate rock, Reno, Nevada. Come on.
Come on. That was sick.
We're skating Pettit's Bowl in the day, and we're fucking at their wedding at night. It was just like, what? And Shed's playing live at Pettit's, like on the.
Oh, my friend!
That was.
I have all those photos still to this day. I'll send you some of them.
I would love that. Yeah.
I have a bunch. I mean, I have you skating Pettit's, Crail. I have like all the photos because. Remember, Pettit's was painted blue and it had that yellow
with the circle in the
center. And I got photos of everybody standing in the circle, like looking down from the top, and
rad
photos from that night. I got photos of like Tony, like wearing his top hat and his like little shirt and stuff, like pissing in the fountain.
Holy
and I'm getting married, like the whole deal. Just that day earlier, like we I don't know, it was on that same trip, but Jake and Hubbard like sitting outside the Cauldron, and like that was the first skate rock, man.
Dude, remember day one, the car drove into the fucking hotel room next to Jake's hotel room that went through the wall. Like we started, okay, here we go.
Dude,
I mean, people, do you have a specific city or moment of that whole trip that stands out as like, that was my favorite one?
Let's see. Remember skating Rays. I mean, Fresno was cool. Like a lot of those were like those crazy little hokey towns too, where we played. Like, what was the one? It wasn't in Fresno. It was
Medford.
Medford.
Down there was Madera.
Madera was a crazy one.
Yeah. Then we did Sac was really sick because Johnny and the Dudes came out and Dog Boy flew through the railing and took that dude out.
That one was sick. That one was epic, actually. The Sac one was dope.
Sac was so good.
All of those were. Oh, and then we skated. What's his name's bowl? Why am I blanking on everybody's names? Was also outside of Sac. The teacher. What's his name?
Oh yeah, Curtis.
We skated Curtis's bowl.
Yeah.
That was epic.
And that was where me and Sammy Baca became friends for life, was that trip, because he thought he was the shit at baseball and I struck his ass out.
Oh, yeah. That was the shit. Yeah, because Sammy used to play baseball, and I remember.
He's a gnarly pitcher.
Oh yeah, he could pitch.
Yeah,
he can play. He's a baller.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember we were playing like we were playing like on Skate Rock. We were playing baseball with rocks and logs. We'd like pull off on the side of the road, and we'd like one dude would pitch, the other dude would bat. I mean, it'd literally be with like rocks and logs, but I mean,
and we had
that was like going through Reno area and all that. That was dope.
It was sick because there was all the vans. It was like Creach van, Thrasher van, the Spitfire van. We called them like the little fucking Hornet's Nest or something. It was like Angel Ramirez and all those guys.
Yes.
And then Kilgore van. And somehow we'd all like do our own thing, but always end up like,
yes.
You know, and it was so sick. Like, here they come. All right, it's on.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And then we'd link
You
up.
don't need a party when you got the party on wheels. Like you show up, there's 30 guys there. It's gonna be good.
Yeah. It's a done deal.
Yeah.
It's a party waiting to happen. I mean, it's just like, that's the hype. I mean, that's the deal. Like, and that's one of the things I always love about like traveling with the homies is like that. You know, whether it's you see the other van and you're like, oh, and you spontaneously just get that hype going, and you know, all the memories start flooding in, or it's like you meet up and like you're all getting ready to go on a trip, but then you like end up meeting up at the airport either before your flight or after your flight, and everyone's getting their bags, and it's just like, and you start getting that mojo going, and like everyone's face lights up, and you want to crack a brew, and you just want to start talking shit, and it's just like,
dude,
oh, let's go. You know, like it's that hype. It's like, that's the shit that we live for, right? I mean, that's just like, like
totally.
That's it, and that's it, and we've all experienced that, and just waiting to get the van, waiting, like any of that stuff, sitting at the bar when you're at the airport, getting ready to go on a trip.
Yep.
And it's just those
that
moments,
camaraderie,
that camaraderie, those moments, that energy starts building, and that just carries itself through the whole trip. Like you're kind of in your bubble of comfort and happiness, and like that happy place. It's like, as long as everybody, like you look over there, you know what I mean? You see Pat, you see Grant, you see Eddie, you're like, you know it's on. You see Cranny, you know it's on. You see E-Man, like, you know it's on. Like it's going down. Like, and you got love all around you, and like it kind of like it builds on the energy, and that's that love, you know what I mean? That's that love for the culture.
That's the magic. Absolutely. We need to bottle it somehow and just fucking have it in our back pocket for those little moments. But
it happens on trips. We need to get some trips going again. I mean, those trips are like, that's the stuff that dreams are made of. You could never even write those stories. I mean, as long as we talked on here, we could only like scratch the surface of what the real energy and spirit of those adventures were, you know?
100%. Have you been traveling at all during this time?
No.
Yeah.
Man. I've been laying low. I've
Same.
My last trip was the Rider Rally in Lincoln City.
Oh.
It's the last time I've traveled for skateboarding.
Okay. My last one was Tucson. I flew home from that. Darren had like a little Rumble and Ramona type thing in Tucson.
Yeah.
I flew home the day before they did the lockdown. Like I was in Arizona going, is it chill if I fly? Like it was right when this stuff broke out. And I was like,
about a year ago. I mean,
it was a year ago. Yeah. It was March. Yeah. It was March, I think. Yeah. Pretty sure either February or March.
Yeah.
So we're all itching.
Dude, tell me about it. I mean, but let's not forget about that. You know what I mean? Like all this, we've all been in this weird bubble. It's all been up and down. It's all been wild, but that energy still exists. It still will exist. It will get all those love, and all that fire will be rekindled once we're able to like, get it moving again. I mean, but that's part of it, man. We need to be together. We need to support each other, like more than just online.
Right.
You know, so weird. Like just this whole online thing, everything, you know, but, you know, I'm glad that, you know, thankful for that you have this platform, and thanks for having me and introducing this.
Dude, I'm stoked.
This conversation, man. It's been cool.
Yeah,
man.
know,
I don't know if we covered all the stuff, but I mean, we definitely shot the shit. So,
hey, there's way too much to cover. Like, you know, like me and Mofo did one, and I think I got like to age 4.
Is that real?
It's like that dude had such a killer life. It was like, what the fuck? We're gonna have to have part 2, 3, 4, 5. But that's the beauty, is like check back in later and fucking tell some more stories or whatever. But dude, I'm so stoked to touch base with you, and feel free to fucking reach out anytime if there's some shit going on that I could be a part of or helpful in any way. I'd be hyped. I talked to a few people that I was interviewing you, and they're like, "Tell Al, I love Space Pupil." Like people are like hearing about it and stuff. So that's rad, you know. I'm gonna end on two things. We always end with a song that will put the needle on the record and fucking end out. But you can uplift me by answering these two questions.
Okay.
One is where you would recommend me to take my fiance on a honeymoon. Pick a destination for that. And then what is your go-to for, I got arthritis, bad shoulders, all this shit like Tiger Balm, CBD, heating pad, ice pack, biofreeze, stretching, yoga, Pilates. What's my go-to? What's Al's philosophy for like getting my, you know, I know posture is important. Posture.
Getting your chi flowing.
Yeah, you know, like just feeling good. Like being on the island, but not having to go to the island. Like when I go to Hawaii, I feel better than I've ever felt my body. And I want to feel that way in the big city and no matter where I go.
Yes. Well, I mean, I guess first question is you saying where to go? It's your company. It's who you're with, obviously. Like, I don't know if there's any one place that's going to be like better than the other. I guess any place where you can get into your zone and you can have fun activities for you and your lady, where you guys can share an experience and have a good time together and really enjoy each other, as well as the setting. I loved Morocco. That was cool. But, you know, that's like, you're going to the Medinas, you can go to the beaches, you can go to the mountains. But it's like, it all depends on like what you're into and what you want to do. You know, I loved the Caymans. Like when we went down there, that was great. One of my favorite places that I recently went, this was on a Levi's trip. They got us like somewhere up in the Redwoods, dude. They got us like an Airbnb.
Northern California?
Northern California, right on the Redwoods.
By like Wairika or something.
What's that?
Up by like Humboldt, past up there.
Somewhere like
Wairika, I think is called.
Yeah, I can't remember, but it was just so beautiful. I just loved it there. I mean,
yeah,
I felt like that was just like such a zen spot. It was like the cliff overlooking the water, and then we got to look at the stars at night, and you know, the redwoods were on the other side, and you know, it's just
that's
like
pretty sick spot.
Yeah, it's just absolutely, and that's super close to home. But I mean, I think it's like wherever you are, it's like finding your place and finding your comfort and making the best of your situation.
So location, don't put so much pressure on like the ultimate location. This doesn't have to be that. It has to be more of like, where are you two gonna bond best? It doesn't have to be this like Bali or bust, like
right. Yeah. And that's like, I think, and that's like also the idea, you know, like when, you know, people, they put too much emphasis on that instead of like just being present and just having that time with that person and like connecting in that way. I think it doesn't matter where you are, you know what I mean? And that kind of even going into like what you're saying about the other thing is like, feeling like you're on the island when you're in the city is like almost like creating your own island. You know what I mean? So like what I like to do is I enjoy like having a little meditation or even like a little gratitude or a little something that kind of puts me on my island. You know what I mean? And then with that kind of helps. And then to do like a bit of yoga, a little stretching, like a lot of stretching actually.
Stretching.
As far as for that arthritic stuff, CBD helps. Stretching helps, and I still have all my injuries and all my pain of all the years, you know, well deserved. Yeah, I think stretching a lot, you know, stretching helps a lot. And I got this recently. I got this like yoga trapeze, but I don't use it to like hang and do inversions as much as I use it for stretching. Like stretching, you can put your legs in it and it has like a handles and stuff, and you can kind of like use it to stretch your hamstrings and get like your body in weird positions to get more stretches.
Right.
That's one thing. And then like if yoga is a little too intense, you can do like a simple yoga, which is called a yin yoga, which is like restorative yoga, which is basically using the body, your body weight and different little props. And you like hold positions for like 7 to 10 minutes each one. And it's like very like lazy man's yoga, but it's very good because you actually lay into these positions and then you breathe into it. And it like loosens up stuff and it gets you to be more flexible and a little more resilient. And
okay.
I mean, it's just part, it's like finding a practice, you know what I mean? Something that works and that changes. Like it's not always the same practice. It's like altering it for what does and doesn't work for you, so.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
But it's just finding comfort in that,
Yeah, me and Cranny Cranny shared this link to this fucking core building exercise. It's like 5 in a row and you do like 25, 25, 25. And you do them like 2 or 3 times a week. And all of a sudden you're just like, so there's a bunch of stuff I'm working on just doing.
Send it to me and I'll send you some stuff that I do, like little, like, even if it's like
I'm all about it. Cause when the lockdown first happened, I mean, SF's a lot different, I think, than SoCal, but like I'm in a 1-bedroom apartment, no yard. I got the fridge next to me. I probably put on 15, 20 pounds in the first month or two. Like ice cream was my best friend.
Yeah.
I haven't drank in 5 years. So I've just been replacing pints with pints. Dan Pencil told me that one.
Pints of Ben and Jerry's.
But basically, stop. This is not working.
Yeah.
My chick got us a fucking exercise bike. I started sweating every day and realizing, my old friend Sweat has been missing in my life.
Yes.
Started like weighing myself, figuring out like, okay, I'm on the right path. It's not going to happen overnight, but I'm on the right path and that's keeping me positive. Now I'm back to like a comfortable situation, but I get married in August and I want to come out with my fucking Maui Bay bod.
Yeah, baby. That beach bod.
You know what I mean? Get the bronze in.
Yeah. I feel you, brother.
But fuck, dude.
We all want that. Yeah, I mean, this year's been hectic, but we're all tough and we're all resilient, but we're gonna emerge in a better place,
For sure. Dude, thanks for taking so much time.
Yeah.
I got big love for you. It's fucking stoked to have you on here. Finally, we've been working on this one for a minute and I'm just stoked, dude. Thanks for sharing all that stuff with me too. It means a lot. And I always appreciate catching up with you,
Likewise, man. Thank you so much. Thanks for thinking of me. Thanks for having me on your podcast. That's cool, man.
What are we going to, I just hooked up my record player yesterday. I finally got an amp and speakers and the record player's been sitting there without any power. And what's the first album I'm putting the needle on? What song are we going to do?
I think we're going to play Hopton Lewis. Take it easy.
I like it. Techniques. I'm taking it manually. Cha-ching. Thanks so much, Al. Fuck yeah. Good to see your face too, man. Good to see you. And
good to see you too, man. You look good.
You too, man. Take care of yourself.
You too, brother.
All right. Bye now.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Talkin Schmit. You can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Anchor, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcasts. When you subscribe, you'll get notifications every Tuesday of new episodes the minute they become available. Also, please leave reviews and a 5-star rating. It's the best way to help the show grow. All of the episodes will always remain free, but if you would like to help support the show, you can do so at talkingschmit.com, where you can pick up some merchandise like t-shirts, beanies, hats, and stickers. The website has an entire archive of all of the episodes, with extra photos and videos. Email us with any suggestions, comments, or ways that the show may have improved your life at talkingschmit@gmail.com. All interviews are conducted, edited, and produced by Schmitty. The intro music is Mary's Cross by the band Nature. Very special shout out goes to the executive director, Cheryl Camisa.
Shout out.
Love it! This is Talking Schmit, where the Rolodex is deep, but the conversation is deeper.